the Reverend Tony Jarvis, who's an Episcopal priest, who served as headmaster of Roxbury Latin School in the Boston area from 1974 to 2004. I have known him for over 20 years, been with him many times, and am very proud to have him speak to you and this evening and to our faculty tomorrow. I think you will appreciate his straight talk. In another time when he was here, he talked about some substantial lies in the world, and I bet he'll reference them tonight, that life is not always easy and fair, and you've got to kind of build your spirit and self-support system to deal with that, and probably to have some spiritual strength in you to face a lot of the challenges ahead. I think it's better for me to have him talk now, so please join me in welcoming my friend Tony Jarvis.
It's great to be here at this great school. I'm going to point my remarks tonight to the boys, because you're about to be the future of Montgomery Bell Academy. And there are some things I'd like to say. I promise not to keep you long. I think there are three characteristics of great men in every generation, of the best men in every generation, of the best schoolboys in every generation. The first of those characteristics, I think, is that they are grateful. Look around you at the buildings here. Somebody gave those buildings. Somebody who didn't know you and will never know you in all likelihood. A bunch of people who will never know you, whom you will never be able to thank. They gave all these buildings for you. This school is built on the generosity of its sons. Look around you and you'll see your parents. Many of them are making a tremendous sacrifice to send you to Montgomery Bell. They could spend that money on a lot of other things that they would enjoy more directly, but they're spending it on your education. You have been given the most precious thing in the world, opportunity. Very few people have the opportunity that you have. You are here at one of the great schools, not only of the United States, but of the world. I just come back from Africa, where I was visiting a Roxbury Latin boy, my school in Boston, who at age 31 has established a school in the townships of Johannesburg, Tuscany. He has raised $3 million, built this school. It's surrounded by shacks where its students live, most of which don't have running water, none of which have heat. And he's got a field for playing soccer, which is pure dirt, no beautiful grass, no artificial turf. And I went there and I happened to be there the week that is exactly parallel to tonight, when the new boys for next year were coming in the new year. Of course, the school year begins in January in the Southern Hemisphere, and because it's winter there now. But they were spending a week at the school to get oriented. And most of them had walked to the school, some of them as long as 4 or 5 miles to get there. And the first thing that one of these little boys said to me is, why did they do this? Why did they build this for us? Couldn't understand why there's a brand new $2.5 million building right in the middle of this desolate area. And I said, somebody thought you were worth it. Somebody wanted to give you a chance. Somebody wanted to give you an opportunity. The next boy pointed down at his shoes and he said, I have shoes. And I looked at these dilapidated shoes and I thought, what's he pointing at these shoes 4. And then I noticed that the boy on his right and the boy on his left didn't have any shoes. I asked them what they'd had for lunch. They all brought their lunch. They all had little plastic bowls, and they had rice for lunch that they'd brought from home. And I said to one boy, "You didn't finish your lunch?" And he said, "No, I saved that for this afternoon." It was 4 years ago. I was in India visiting a mission school, a church mission school. And I said on my first day, at the end of my first day, I said, these kids you've told me they're very poor, but they don't look poor. They have nice shirts, nice shorts, nice sandals. And the headmaster said, well, I'll wait till tomorrow and the next day. And I noticed on the second day and on the third day that they were wearing the same shirt and the same shorts. They'd gone home, as they did every night, and washed that one shirt that they had and those one pair of shorts every day. That was the only thing they had to wear. We affluent Americans, I think, take all this for granted. Have you ever been grateful for your shoes? For your lunch of rice? For your clothes? Gratitude, I think, is the key to a happy life. My grandmother, whenever I would complain about something as a boy, my grandmother would always say to me, "Count your blessings. Count your blessings. Be grateful for what you have." I think great men of every generation don't take things for granted. They're grateful for what they have been given. That, I think, is where it all begins, with gratitude. The second characteristic that I would point out of the best men in every generation, of the best schoolboys in every generation, is that they are ambitious. We had I hired a teacher at Roxbury Latin from a posh boarding school. He'd been teaching there for several years, and he said, "I can't believe how different the Roxbury Latin boys are from the boys and girls of my previous school." He said, "I've been used to entitled, spoiled brats. If they want pizza, they call up and order it. If they want some new clothes, they call up LL Bean and get them." He said they could have everything they wanted, and they did, and they thought the world owed it to them. He said, I came to Roxbury Latin, he said, the boys here are not entitled. They're ambitious, they're hungry. They have an edge, they have an inner fire. They have ambition. Life, my dear boys, does not consist of lying under fruit trees and letting the fruit fall into your mouth. We brought boys from the inner city of Boston out to my school, to Roxbury Latin, every year because we were looking for boys from the inner city. And these were boys from public high schools in Boston, and they'd come out in groups of 10 or 12. It was a great day off from school for them. They could come and see another school and so on. And they always came by my office, and I spoke to them, and I always said the same thing at the end. And I said, maybe one of you really wants to do something with his life. Maybe one of you really wants to be somebody. And about every other visit, it was about 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 25, because I would say, come up to me and tell me if you are that boy. About every other visit, some boy would come up to me and say, I'm the one. I want to be somebody. He had ambition. He may not have had the IQ. His IQ test may have been pretty low. His SSATs may have been pretty low. But those would go up. He may not have had the IQ, but he had the I will. He had the ambition. The same was true, I found, in Africa. Speaking to a bunch of these kids, the my student from Roxbury Latin asked me to speak to them, and I said, this is going to be really hard. Your friends, you're going to go home at night and your friends aren't working this hard. This is going to be really hard. You really sure you want this? And one boy impaled me with his eyes and he said, I want to be somebody. Ambition, desire, inner fire. I had one of the saddest experiences of my life a couple of years ago at my 50th reunion at Harvard. I had a guy come up to me, my classmate, in his 70s, and say, I never did anything with my life. I never did anything with my life. They say that the saddest words in any language are, if only. If only I'd done this. If only I'd done that. Second characteristic of the best men in every generation and the best schoolboys in every generation is ambition. They want something. They have ambition. The third, and you'll be glad to know, final characteristic that I would like to point out of the best in every generation is that they are tough. Some years ago, I have an inner city parish in Boston in the Dorchester neighborhood. And some years ago, the organist at my parish and I saw this boy in the choir, and this is the kid, he's a diamond. He's really special. He's got the I will. And long and short, he applied and got into Roxbury Latin. About the third week of school, in the 7th grade, I said to him, how's it going? And he said to me, well, when I go home every night, all my friends are hanging out on the corner, and they tease me, and I have to go home and work really hard. And he was feeling very sorry for himself, I could say. I said, you made a decision to come here. You can't have Roxbury Latin and hang out with your friends every night. Can't be done. Make up your mind. If you don't want this spot, somebody else does. He went home and worked hard every night, I think. Did well. And I saw him the day before school started, his 8th grade year. And I said to him, well, did you have a chance to hang out with your friends this summer? And he said, yeah, I did. But he said, I have to tell you something. I said, what's that? He said, I feel about 20 years older than they are. He said, they don't have any ambition. He said, I'm on the way to being somebody. I'm going to amount to something. I'm going to do something with my life. And he said, they don't want to do that at all. You have to be tough. You want to be at MBA. You have to work hard. Success takes hard work. You have to be tough not to give in to temptation. You won't be here long before you're tempted to cheat, to look on somebody else's work and steal it as your own, or to look up from some book or on the internet, copy a passage into a paper that's supposed to be written by you, that's somebody else's words. You'll be tempted to do that. Be tempted to be lazy. Be tempted to go home and play computer games. Watch just that one television program that you want to watch, or doing 1,000 other things that will distract you from your work. You'll be tempted. You'll be tempted perhaps a little later on, perhaps sooner than you think, sooner than your parents think. Certainly, you'll be tempted by drugs and alcohol. You need to think about this in advance. You need to decide whether or not you're going to be tough enough to overcome laziness, tough enough to overcome dishonesty, tough enough to overcome drugs, tough enough to overcome those temptations. The best among you will require a flashing light that'll say, don't go there. I knew this temptation would come, and I'm ready for it. I expected it. I'm not going to be caught off guard. Some of the weaker and more pathetic among you may just collapse and give in. And giving in to these temptations is the easiest thing in the world. Doesn't require any talent, doesn't require any courage, doesn't require any guts. Anybody can do it. The dumbest, stupidest, and least motivated can give in to all those temptations. And sad things happen. I remember at my first school, university school in Cleveland, we had a boy who was admitted to an Ivy League college. He was captain of a team. At the end of his career, in the spring of his senior year, under a lot of pressure, sports and playing sports and other clubs he was in, he cheated. He copied part of a paper he had to hand in from somebody else's work, and he was caught. His admission to that Ivy League college was revoked. There was a boy in a school near mine in Boston who was captain of hockey, admitted to Yale. The hockey team won a big game. He and his friends went out. He had a couple of beers, drove home, hit a piece of ice, turned over the car, and he was dead when the police got there. In 1 minute, in one stupid moment, you can throw your life away. Takes you years to accumulate a good reputation. In one stupid moment, you can throw it all away. You've got to be tough. I was talking with a boy at his reunion at Roxbury Latin who was about 30, and he was working in money in Wall Street, and his boss said, "I want you to do this," and he said, "I thought about it overnight," and I said, that's dishonest. I can't do this. He went to his boss and said, I don't feel comfortable doing that. It's dishonest." Boss said, "What are you, the last of the Puritans? You got to get over this. You want to get anywhere in money?" He said, "You got to do this." The boy said, "I can't do it. I don't want to do it. It's wrong." And two of the other people who had been hired at the same time as he was were promoted, and he was left behind. And he thought, boy, all this morality stuff was taught in school, that's for the birds. I guess there's only one way, and that is to cheat, but I'm not going to do it. I don't know why, but I'm not going to do it. 3 months later, the boss and the other two who were promoted were fired because they were caught doing something dishonest. The boy was promoted to his boss's job. You got to be tough. 3 characteristics of the best men in every generation, 3 characteristics of the best schoolboys in every generation. They're grateful for what they have. They don't take it for granted. They don't think that the world owes them anything. They're grateful for what they have. They're ambitious. They want something for their life. And they're tough. They not only have the ambition, but they have the guts to pursue the ambition and work hard. This is your one and only life. It's not a video game. You can't rewind it, start all over again. It's not a rehearsal. It's not even a dress rehearsal. This is actually life here at MBA. Why not do something great with your one and only life? I'll end with the advice that I was given by my 8th grade baseball coach in the town of Painesville, Ohio, where I grew up. And every time we'd go out to play a game that summer, it was terrible grammar, but great advice. He would say to us, "Don't have no regrets, boys. Don't have no regrets." Terrible grammar, great advice. Thank you.